Well, good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Richard Cruz, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Warrant Officer Eden Stubbings. We warmly welcome the family of Private Ronald Herbert Welsh, whose story will be told shortly. We're honoured to welcome His Excellency General, the Honourable David Hurley, Governor-General of the Commonwealth of Australia, and Her Excellency, Mrs Linda Hurley. We're also honoured to welcome Senator Jackie Lambie, Senator for Tasmania. And we warmly welcome the Gallipoli Scholarship Fund delegation. As always, we welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. And during this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you're able, I invite you all to please stand and join in singing the national anthem. If you're able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Ronald Herbert Welsh. Ronald Welsh was born in 1897 to Herbert and Margaret Welsh of Scone, New South Wales. Known as Ron, he grew up in Satur, just outside of Scone, and attended Scone Public School. It was later said that there was never a better behaved and more manly young fellow than Ron Welsh. He served in the local senior cadets and went on to work as a carpenter. In early 1916, 18-year-old Ron Welsh and his older brother Athol enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force with 4 other young men from Satur. They underwent a period of training in Australia before leaving for active service overseas at different times. Ron left a few months after his brother, but both were transferred to the 60th Battalion after arriving in England. In March 1917, a few weeks after arriving on the battlefields of France, Private Ron Welsh was with his battalion near the front line in Fleur when he was wounded to the right thigh. He was evacuated to hospital in England and took several weeks to recover. He returned to his battalion the following June. In September, the 60th Battalion took part in the successful attack at Polygon Wood. Welsh spent much of the first half of 1918 attending a number of training schools in France. A week after the 60th Battalion took part in the Battle of Amiens, the operation which launched the Great British Offensive of 1918, Private Welsh returned to his battalion. On the 1st of September 1918, the 60th Battalion entered the front line near Peronne with the order to reinforce the right flank of the operation to capture the French town. The following day, Private Ronald Welsh was killed in action. No record remains of the manner of his death. His body was recovered from the battlefield, and today he lies in Peronne Communal Cemetery Extension under the words, "In fond memory of the dear son of Mr. and Mrs. Welsh of Scone, New South Wales." He was 21 years old. Athol Welsh returned to Australia in poor health and never really recovered. When he died in 1930 at the age of 35, it was reported that he paid the price of his patriotism by being destined to an early grave following suffering over a protracted period. Herbert and Margaret Welsh always considered that they had lost 2 of their sons as the direct result of their participation in the Great War. Ronald Welsh's name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Ronald Herbert Welsh, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
If you're able, please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes this evening's last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.